Welcome to Chapter 6. I am recording this on Saturday morning, and according to Georgia View, it looks like a lot of you are logging into the course site right now to get ready to take that Module 2 exam. So, best of luck on that exam, and hopefully you can get everything wrapped up early this afternoon and enjoy a little bit of the sunshine today. That's my plan anyway. All right, so this module this week, we're going to start off by talking about financial strategy. And financial strategy is a very critical part of the retail planning process. Many of our strategic decisions in retailing revolve around our financial strategy, and a lot of those have to be set up and determined before a retailer even opens their doors to the public. Financial analysis really is used for a couple of reasons, and we use our financial strategy to help monitor our performance overall, to assess reasons why our performance might be above or below expectations. And our financial strategy and our financial analysis can also really provide us insights into our future actions as a retailer. So we're going to start off by talking about retail objectives and goals. And if you remember way back to Chapter 5 last week when we talked about retail planning, we talked about setting objectives and goals early in that strategic planning process. So we're going to dig a little deeper into some of those overall objectives today that a retailer sets and has for their establishment. So without objectives, let's talk about what happens if you don't set objectives. There's nothing really for you to measure performance against. So you have to have an objective. And generally speaking, there are three categories of goals that retailers might set for themselves when planning their establishment. And so when we talk about objectives and goals, we use those a little bit interchangeably. But the first overall category would be financial objectives. And for retailers, the most appropriate financial performance measure is return on assets. Return on assets is really telling us the profit generated by the assets possessed by that retailer. So we're going to talk a lot about ROA in Chapter 6. We're going to learn how to calculate ROA and also how to analyze ROA. So at this point, before you continue forward with any of the other video lectures or the materials, make sure you have a calculator handy. It doesn't have to be an intense calculator, just have to be able to do some basic calculations, and we'll walk through those this chapter. But let's look at ROA from a very high level perspective. And let's give a little example on why ROA is so important and why we're going to spend an entire chapter talking about it. Let's take two retailers. And let's say both of them earned a profit of $1 million in 2015. Okay. Retailer A spent $5 million on assets in 2015 in order to make his $1 million in profit. So you have to always spend a little bit of money to make money. And retailer A spent $5 million. His ROA is 20%. Okay? And we'll learn how to calculate that later in this chapter. Now let's look at retailer B, who spent $40 million on assets in order to make $1 million in profit. His ROA is 2.5%. So both retailers made the exact same amount of profit in 2015. Retailer A has an ROA of 20% and retailer B has an ROA of 2.5%. So you tell me, which retailer performed better overall? If you chose retailer A, you made the correct decision. When we measure ROA, we look for a higher return. The higher return, the better results. Okay, and we're going to talk about this chapter, why that's the case, and why we want to achieve a high return on assets. All right, but let's back up to those overall objective categories. So that kind of covers financial objectives from a high level. Societal objectives are the second overall category of goals that a retailer might set for themselves when starting a retail business. Societal objectives are geared towards making the world a better place. So it might be a societal objective a retailer might have would be providing employment opportunities for low-income areas. Maybe you're providing employment opportunities for minorities or veterans or people with disabilities. All of those would be societal objectives. It could also be offering environmentally friendly products. Maybe you are sponsoring community events. Those are all societal objectives that make the world a better place. These objectives are much more difficult to measure, so there's no numerical measure, generally speaking, for societal objectives, but a lot of retailers still have those and incorporate them into their business plan. The third set of objectives are personal objectives, and most small independent retailers and even large corporate retailers have personal objectives for starting their own business. These objectives really kind of are self-gratification or status in the community. Maybe they want to earn a certain level of respect among their peers. Maybe they want their family to be better off in the long term. Maybe they want to retire at an early age. All of those are personal objectives that someone might have for opening a retail establishment. And again, these are very difficult to measure, but we can look at our overall success to see if we've accomplished our personal goals. A retailer has to have a financial objective or a financial goal in order to keep their doors open, even if that financial objective is to break even and at least cover our costs. But most retailers will have a societal or personal objective, but they're not necessarily required to start a retail business. And that really kind of guides our objectives and our overall strategy. These objectives guide kind of the general retail plan, the business plan for what we're going to be. So if you were starting your own retail business, what would some of your personal and societal goals be? Have you ever thought about that? If you were starting a business or someday in your future career, even if it's not in retail, what are the societal objectives of a company that you would want to work for? Or what personal objectives would you want to align with the company that you start to work for?